My name is Diego, and I was there when Sarah's story changed forever. It was a sunny afternoon on June 15th, and the air was thick with anticipation at the local park, where Sarah was set to meet her ex-husband for what she hoped would be a civil discussion. As she stood there, the vibrant colors of the world around her dulled in the shadow of uncertainty, her heart racing. She smiled, trying to mask the turmoil within, but it felt like a fragile facade. The scent of fresh grass filled the air, mingling with the sweet sound of birds chirping, yet all she could feel was the bitter taste of betrayal lingering on her tongue. Just days earlier, a stranger had sent Sarah an email that hinted at a truth she had never imagined, a revelation that could shatter the fragile peace she had tried to build after the divorce. She smiled but trembled, caught between the hope of closure and the fear of confrontation. How can blood turn to poison like this? What nobody knew was that this meeting would unleash secrets that had been buried deep, forever altering the course of her life. With each passing moment, the weight of that email loomed larger in her mind, as if it held the power to change everything. The evening air was thick with anticipation as Sarah stood in front of the gallery, her heart racing with a mix of excitement and anxiety. She had always loved art, a passion ignited in her childhood, and tonight felt like a small victory in her otherwise tumultuous life. The local art exhibition was a chance to showcase her amateur paintings alongside established artists, a moment she had dreamed of for years. As she stepped inside, the familiar scent of fresh coffee wafted through the air, mingling with the faint aroma of the rain-soaked pavement outside. "Sarah, you made it!" Tom's cheerful voice broke through her thoughts, pulling her into a warm embrace. His loyalty had been a balm for her bruised heart since the divorce. "I can't wait to see your pieces. They're going to be a hit." "Thanks, Tom. I just hope they don't look too out of place next to the professionals." The words slipped out, a familiar self-doubt creeping in, but she tried to mask it with a smile. "Don't be ridiculous. You're talented. Just own it," he encouraged, his eyes shining with genuine belief in her abilities. As she wandered through the gallery, admiring the vibrant colors and intricate brushwork of others, her heart sank a little further. Each piece seemed to whisper of confidence and mastery, a stark contrast to her own uncertainty. She paused in front of her paintings, the ones she had poured her soul into, but even the brushstrokes felt inadequate tonight. It was hard not to compare herself to the professional artists whose works adorned the walls like trophies. "Wow, Sarah, this one is stunning," a friend exclaimed, pointing to her piece that captured a sunset over the city skyline. The compliment brought a fleeting warmth, but it was quickly overshadowed by the nagging voice in her head that whispered she would never measure up. "Thank you," she replied, though her smile faltered. In that moment, she caught a glimpse of Mark across the room. He was charming as ever, mingling effortlessly with other attendees, the kind of man who could light up a room but had a way of casting shadows over her life. The memories of their marriage flooded her mind, his laughter, the promises they made, and ultimately, the betrayal that shattered everything. "Hey, you okay?" Tom asked, noticing the change in her expression. "Yeah, just a lot to take in," she replied, forcing her gaze away from Mark and back to her artwork. But the sight of him was like a specter, haunting her and reminding her of her heartbreak. The rain began to patter against the windows, a gentle reminder of the world outside, yet it felt ominous, as if the storm mirrored the turmoil within her. Preserve the original language of the text for a breath of fresh air, the cool breeze mingling with the earthy scent of rain. Cultural reflection, in the porch, it hurt like heartbreak. She closed her eyes for a moment, letting the sounds of distant traffic and the rhythm of the rain wash over her. It was a comforting backdrop, but it couldn't drown out the nagging doubts clawing at her heart. Just then, her phone buzzed in her pocket, pulling her back to reality. The message was from an unknown number. "Ask your son about the house." Confusion washed over her, and she felt her heart skip a beat. What house? Why was someone reaching out to her like this? "Tom," she called out, her voice tinged with urgency. He rushed to her side, concern etched on his face. "What's wrong?" "I just got this weird message," she said, showing him her phone. "I don't know who this is. What does it even mean?" Tom took a moment to read the message, his brow furrowing. "That's strange. Do you think it's a prank?" "I don't know. Her voice trailed off as her mind raced. The mention of the house felt heavy, and an unsettling thought crept in. What if it was connected to Mark? "Sarah, you need to talk to your son about this," Tom urged gently. "He might know something." "But why now? Why this message?" she asked, her heart racing. Thought, the smell of fresh coffee brought painful memories. Just then, Sarah's phone buzzed again, and she felt the ground shift beneath her. Another message, this time from her son. "Mom, can we talk? I need to tell you something important." Her heart dropped, the weight of uncertainty pressing down on her. "Oh my God, I can't believe this," she whispered, the reality of the situation starting to settle in. The night had started with the promise of celebration, yet it was quickly unraveling into something darker, a tangled web of secrets and revelations that threatened to pull her under. "Tom, I need to go home," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. He nodded, understanding the urgency in her tone. "Let's get you home." As they walked back to her car, the rain began to fall harder, each drop echoing the turmoil brewing in her heart. She couldn't shake the feeling that this night was just the beginning of something she never saw coming, a storm that would change everything she thought she knew about her life, her family, and herself. Sarah gazed out the window. "What a beautiful day," she whispered. Mark noticed her distant look. "You seem lost in thought." The wind chimes outside danced gently in the evening breeze, their soft tinkling a stark contrast to the turmoil brewing within Sarah. She sat curled up on the faded couch in the living room, her heart heavy after receiving that cryptic email. "Ask your son about the house," it had read. A simple sentence that sent her mind spiraling. What could it mean? Her thoughts raced, and she found herself staring at the family photos lining the walls. Memories of better times when laughter echoed in this very space. Just then, Jake trudged into the room, his expression distant, avoiding her gaze as he focused intently on his phone. Sarah's heart sank further. He had been different since the email, withdrawn, secretive. The boy who once shared his every thought and dream now seemed to be a stranger. "Jake, can we talk?" Sarah ventured, trying to break through the wall he had put up. He barely looked up. "Not now, Mom." His tone was curt, and the dismissal stung. Sarah's concern deepened. What was happening to her family? She felt a familiar sense of dread settle in her stomach, one she had hoped to leave behind when she and Mark had decided to make a fresh start after their divorce. But as she glanced toward the kitchen, where the scent of apple pie lingered in the air, she knew that the illusion of normalcy was about to shatter. That evening, Mark arrived home late, his smile faltering as he noticed the tension in the air. "What's going on?" he asked, setting his briefcase down. "Jake's been acting weird," Sarah replied, her voice tight. "I think it's related to that email." Mark's expression hardened. "What email?" Her pulse quickened as she recounted the message, the words tumbling out as if they had been building inside her all evening. "Someone reached out to me, saying I should ask Jake about the house. It doesn't make sense, Mark. What if—" "Sarah, you're overreacting," Mark interrupted, running a hand through his hair, frustration evident on his face. "It's probably just spam or some kind of prank." "No," Sarah insisted, her voice rising. "You don't understand. This is about us, about our family. We can't just ignore it." Mark crossed his arms, a defensive stance that made her chest tighten. "We have enough problems with adding this nonsense. We need to focus on the house and our finances, not some random email." The air grew thick with unspoken words, and the sound of wind chimes faded into the background. This wasn't just about the house. It was about their family, their trust, and the cracks that had begun to form in their relationship. "Maybe you're right," Sarah said, her voice trembling, "but you don't see how much this is affecting Jake. He's pulling away from us, and I feel like we're losing him." Mark scoffed. "You act like this is all my fault. What do you want me to do? We're barely keeping our heads above water as it is." Sarah clenched her fists, feeling a rush of emotions, anger, sadness, and betrayal. "You could at least try to be supportive. We're in this together, remember?" Mark shook his head, his charming demeanor slipping away to reveal the deceit lurking beneath. "I thought we were past this, Sarah. I can't keep having the same argument over and over again." The wind picked up outside, rustling the leaves in a restless dance, much like the turmoil inside her heart. In that moment, Preserve, the original language of the text, had shifted from concern for Jake to a blame game, and her heart ached at the thought of their crumbling family. "Maybe this is what it's come to," she whispered, feeling the weight of her words. "Maybe we're not the family we used to be." Mark's eyes softened for a fleeting moment, but then his expression hardened again. "I can't do this right now," he said, turning away. The door slammed shut behind him, leaving Sarah alone with her thoughts. She felt the walls closing in around her, the sound of the wind chimes now mocking her. She picked up her phone, staring at Jake's name. "Hey, can we talk?" she texted, her fingers trembling. The silence that followed was deafening, and as she glanced around the room, she felt the weight of her reality crashing down on her. Just then, Tom called. "Hey, Sarah, you okay?" His voice was a lifeline amidst the chaos. "No, Tom, everything is falling apart," she confessed, the tears finally spilling over. "I don't know what to do." "Just breathe," he said softly. "I'm here for you, okay? Whatever you need." "Oh my God, thank you," Sarah replied, her heart aching but grateful for his presence. "I can't believe this is happening." As she hung up, she took a deep breath, knowing that the road ahead would be challenging. But in that moment, she realized that she was not alone. She had to fight for her family, for Jake, and for herself. Sarah took a deep breath. "We need to have a serious conversation." Mark tensed up. About what exactly? The evening sun hung low in the sky, casting a warm golden glow over the porch where Sarah sat, her mind racing. The smell of rain on the pavement wafted through the air as distant thunder rumbled, a precursor to the storm brewing inside her. She couldn't shake the feeling that something was deeply wrong. The cryptic email still echoed in her mind, demanding that she ask Jake about the house. But why? "Jake, we need to talk." Mark tensed up. About what exactly? The evening sun hung low in the sky, casting a warm golden glow over the porch where Sarah sat, her mind racing. The smell of rain on the pavement wafted through the air as distant thunder rumbled, a precursor to the storm brewing inside her. She couldn't shake the feeling that something was deeply wrong. The cryptic email still echoed in her mind, demanding that she ask Jake about the house. But why? "Jake, we need to talk." Sarah called out as her son stepped out of his room, eyes glued to his phone. His expression was one she had come to dread, distant, almost closed off. "About what?" he replied, barely looking up. "About the email, the one that said I should ask you about the house," she pressed, her heart sinking as he shrugged, dismissing her urgency. "I don't know what you're talking about, Mom. It's nothing," Jake said, his tone flat, and Sarah felt the rift between them widen, a chasm filled with unspoken words and hidden truths. "No, it's clearly something," Sarah exclaimed, her voice rising, filled with a mix of frustration and concern. "You can't just brush this off. What's going on?" "I said it's nothing. Just drop it," he shot back, turning on his heel and retreating back into his room. The door clicked shut, leaving Sarah alone on the porch, the weight of the situation pressing down on her like the impending storm clouds above. With her heart racing, Preserve the original language of the text, an old friend from the neighborhood who had moved away years ago. After a few rings, Lisa picked up, her voice warm and familiar. "Sarah, it's been ages. How are you?" Lisa asked, her enthusiasm a stark contrast to Sarah's turmoil. "Hey Lisa, I wish I was calling under better circumstances," Sarah replied, glancing at the darkening sky. "I got this weird email about a house, and I thought maybe you could help." "Oh my God, I can't believe you're still dealing with that place. What did the email say?" Lisa asked, her curiosity piqued. "It just said to ask Jake about the house, but he's acting like it's nothing," Sarah confessed, her frustration bubbling to the surface. "Listen, there are things about that house, family secrets that were never told. You deserve to know. I can't say much, but I remember whispers about your mom and the history behind it. You should dig deeper," Lisa advised, her tone turning serious. "Secrets? What kind of secrets?" Sarah pressed, her mind racing with possibilities. "There were rumors, Sarah. Things that happened before you were even born. I don't want to upset you, but just be careful," Lisa warned, leaving Sarah with more questions than answers. "Thanks, Lisa. I'll try to be careful," Sarah replied, her voice shaky as she hung up. She leaned back in her chair, staring into the distance as a bird chirped nearby, a stark reminder of the life that continued around her despite her turmoil. That moment on the porch changed everything. Determined to confront the shadows lurking in her family's past, Sarah decided to dig deeper. She picked up her phone again, this time calling Tom. He answered quickly, his voice reassuring. "Hey Sarah, what's up?" "I need your help. I got this strange email, and Jake is acting weird about it. Can we meet?" she asked, trying to keep her voice steady. "Of course, let's grab a BBQ at that place you love. I'll be there in 30, Tom replied, his tone filled with understanding. "Thanks, Tom. I really need a friend right now," Sarah sighed, feeling a flicker of strength return as the thought of sharing her burden with him settled in. She stood up from the porch, the smell of rain intensifying, and headed inside. Just as she passed Jake's room, she caught a glimpse of him through the crack in the door. He was hunched over his desk, his fingers flying over the keyboard. A pang of sorrow hit her as she realized how far apart they had grown. "Jake," she said softly, knocking gently on the door, "I'm here if you want to talk, about anything." He didn't respond, and her heart ached at the silence that followed. As she walked away, she couldn't shake the feeling that the house held more than just memories. It contained secrets that could unravel everything she thought she knew about her family. The sky darkened, and the first drops of rain began to fall, each drop a reminder that storms could come unexpectedly. Cultural reflection. In the porch, it hurt like strength. That night, as Sarah sat across from Tom at the barbecue joint, the sizzling sounds of grilled meat filled the air, contrasting sharply with the turmoil inside her. "Sarah, you look like you've seen a ghost. What's going on?" Tom asked, concern etched on his face. "Tom, I don't know what to do. This email, Jake, it's like everything is falling apart," she admitted, her voice trembling. "Whatever it is, you're not alone in this. We'll figure it out together," Tom assured her, his steady gaze bringing her some comfort. But as Sarah took a deep breath, the feeling of impending revelation loomed overhead, and she realized that uncovering the truth about the house might change everything, not just for her, but for Jake too. The thought sent a shiver down her spine as the rain began to pour outside, drumming a chaotic rhythm against the windows. "I can't believe you did this!" Sarah exclaimed. Mark tried to explain, but words failed him. The sun began to set, casting a warm golden hue across the porch where Sarah sat, her fingers nervously tracing the edge of her phone. The scent of fresh grass wafted through the air, mingling with the faint aroma of coffee brewing inside the house. Birds chirped cheerfully in the trees, an ironic backdrop to the turmoil swirling in her mind. She felt as if the world outside had no idea how her life was crumbling, piece by piece. Just then, Jake walked out, his expression unreadable. He shuffled his feet, avoiding her gaze. "Can we talk?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Sarah's heart sank. "Yeah, we need to talk about that email and the house," she replied, trying to keep her voice steady despite the storm of emotions raging within her. Jake hesitated, glancing over his shoulder as if he was afraid of being overheard. "It's not just about the email. There's something you don't know," he said, his eyes finally meeting hers, revealing a flicker of fear. "What do you mean?" Sarah's pulse quickened, anticipation mingling with dread. "I overheard something, some rumors, about the house and about Grandma," he confessed, his voice trembling slightly. "There's a lot more to it than we've been told." "Oh my God," Sarah breathed, the weight of those words settling like a heavy blanket on her shoulders. "What do you mean?" Jake swallowed hard, gathering his thoughts. "Some of my friends found old family documents in the attic. A will, letters, things about hidden assets. They said there's a tragedy linked to the house, something that happened when you were a kid." The world seemed to tilt on its axis. Memories of whispered conversations and hushed tones rushed back to her. "What kind of tragedy?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper, fearing the answer. "I don't know all the details, but it's something that could change everything," Jake said, stepping closer, his voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. "We need to find those documents." Sarah's mind raced. Why wouldn't Mom or Dad tell us about this? This is insane. She felt betrayed, not just by her parents, but by the very fabric of her childhood. "I don't know, but it makes me wonder what else we don't know," Jake replied, his expression grave. "We should talk to Tom. He might be able to help us figure this out." "Yeah, let's do that," Sarah nodded, her heart pounding. The idea of unearthing hidden family secrets both terrified and intrigued her. She could feel the weight of the unknown pressing down on her chest. As they turned to head back inside, Sarah's phone buzzed again. She glanced down and her stomach dropped. It was another email, this time from the same stranger. "Your son knows more than you think. Ask him again." "No way," Sarah murmured, her voice trembling. "This is getting too weird." "What is it?" Jake asked, peering over her shoulder. "Just more from that stranger. They know something, Jake. They know something about us." "Maybe it's time to confront Mark. He always had a knack for keeping things hidden," Jake suggested, a hint of anger in his voice. Sarah hesitated. "I don't know if I'm ready for that. What if he really has been lying to me all along?" The thought of confronting Mark sent a shiver down her spine, as if she could already feel the betrayal rising like bile in her throat. "Do you want to find out the truth or live in this fog of uncertainty?" Jake shot back, frustration creeping into his tone. "We deserve to know what's going on." "You're right," Sarah admitted, her resolve solidifying. "Let's go to the attic first. I want to see those documents." As they stepped back into the house, the familiar surroundings felt alien, as if she were crossing into a different world. Memories of laughter and family dinners clashed violently with the looming shadows of secrets long buried. "Let's just be careful," Jake warned, glancing over at her with a mix of concern and determination. "We don't know what we'll find." "Or who we'll find," Sarah added, her mind racing back to Mark and the charming facade he wore like a mask. It's time for the truth, no matter how painful. Together, they climbed the stairs to the attic, the air growing heavier with each step. Dust motes danced in the fading light as they reached the door. Sarah took a deep breath, her heart pounding in her chest. "Ready?" Jake asked, his voice steady but his eyes betraying his nerves. "Let's do this," she replied, gripping the doorknob tightly. The weight of the moment hung heavily in the air, and with a deep breath, she turned the knob and pushed the door open. Inside, the attic was a treasure trove of forgotten memories, but amidst the clutter, preserved the original language of that had been waiting for her return. As she stepped inside, she realized this was more than just a search for documents. It was a journey into the heart of her family's secrets, and she was ready to face whatever awaited her there. "Oh my God," Sarah whispered in disbelief. "I can explain everything," Mark said desperately. The kitchen was quiet, save for the gentle tinkling of wind chimes swaying outside the window, their melodic sound contrasting sharply with the turmoil churning inside Sarah. She stood by the coffee maker, the rich aroma of freshly brewed coffee filling the air, but it did little to ease the weight on her shoulders. As she poured herself a cup, her mind raced with the implications of the email. Ask your son about the house. What house? What secrets had been kept from her? "Mom?" Jake's voice broke through her thoughts, and she turned to see him standing in the doorway, his expression unreadable. The light from the morning sun framed him in a halo, but instead of warmth, it felt like a barrier between them. "Jake, we need to talk about what I found," Sarah said, her voice steady despite the turmoil inside. "I can't just brush this off." He hesitated, shifting his weight from one foot to the other. "Do we have to? I don't want to talk about it." "Of course we have to. This isn't just about you and me anymore. It's about your father and—" She stopped, the words catching in her throat. "It's about everything." Jake's jaw tightened, and for a moment the silence hung heavily between them, a chasm of unspoken words and fears. "What do you want me to say?" he finally asked, frustration lacing his tone. "It's complicated." Sarah felt her heart sink. "Complicated? Oh my God, it's more than complicated. It's betrayal." The word hung in the air, a bitter truth she had been trying to avoid. She took a deep breath, trying to steady herself. "I can't believe this is happening." She stepped toward him, desperation clawing at her. "We need to seek legal advice. If your father has hidden something from us, it could change everything. Financially, emotionally, it's not just about the house, Jake." His eyes narrowed. "Why are you so quick to blame him? You don't know the whole story." "Then help me understand," Sarah pleaded, her voice rising. "I feel like I'm in the dark here. You're not the only one who's been hurt." "I don't want to be in the middle of this," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. "It's not fair." Sarah felt a pang of regret. How had they arrived at this point? "I know it's not fair," she said softly, her heart aching for the bond they once had. "That's why I think family therapy could help us. We need to sort through this together. Mark, you, and me. We can't keep avoiding it." Jake looked away, staring at the kitchen wall as if it held all the answers. "I don't know if it would help. It feels like everything is just falling apart." The smell of coffee wafted around them, stirring up memories of mornings spent laughing together, sipping from their mugs while sharing stories. Cultural reflection. In the kitchen, it hurt like betrayal. Sarah could almost see those moments, but they felt like a distant dream now. "Listen," she said, her voice softening, "I'm not trying to fight you. I just want to understand what's going on. If we don't address this, it'll tear us apart." Jake finally met her gaze, his expression unreadable. I wish things were different." "Me too," Sarah replied, the weight of her words heavy. "But we have to face this. I can't do it alone." As she spoke, she felt a sudden rush of determination. If Mark had been hiding something, it was time to confront him. With a newfound resolve, Sarah decided she would consult a lawyer. It was essential to understand the legal ramifications of what had been uncovered. The thought of potential financial disaster loomed over her like a storm cloud. "I'll make an appointment today," she said, the decision crystallizing in her mind. "And after that, I'm going to talk to your father. We can't keep living like this." Jake opened his mouth as if to argue, but then closed it again. He seemed torn, caught between loyalty to his father and the need for honesty with his mother. "Just be careful," he finally said, the concern etched on his face. "I will," Sarah promised, though the uncertainty of the future loomed like a shadow. As she stood in the kitchen, the wind chimes chiming softly outside, she realized that this moment had shifted everything. The road ahead would be fraught with challenges, but she wouldn't back down. If there was one thing she had learned through all the heartache, it was that facing the truth, no matter how painful, was the only way to reclaim her life. And for the first time in a long while, she felt a flicker of hope. Sarah clenched her fists. "I don't want to hear any more excuses." Mark hung his head. "I'm truly sorry." The late afternoon sun spilled golden light into the living room, illuminating the dust motes that danced lazily in the air. Sarah sat on the edge of the couch, her heart pounding as she replayed the conversation she had just had with M. Thompson in her mind. The cafe, with its bustling chatter and the sweet aroma of apple pie, felt like a distant memory now. He had looked earnest, his eyes reflecting a mix of determination and concern. "Your family has a right to know the truth," he had said, leaning closer, his voice barely above a whisper. "There are secrets, Sarah, secrets that go back generations." With a deep breath, Sarah prepared herself for the confrontation ahead. She could already feel the tension crackling in the air, a storm brewing just beneath the surface. Mark and Jake would be home any minute. There was no turning back now. When the door creaked open, Sarah's heart sank. Mark stepped inside, his charming smile faltering as he caught sight of her serious expression. Jake trailed behind, his eyes darting between them, sensing the weight of the moment. "Sarah, what's going on?" Mark asked, his brow furrowing. "Yeah, Mom, you look like you've seen a ghost," Jake added, his tone laced with concern. "It's about M. Thompson," Sarah started, her voice steady despite the chaos inside her. "He believes there's something about our family history that we need to discuss." Mark's demeanor shifted instantly, a shadow crossing his face. "What does that guy want? He's just some distant relative, isn't he?" "Oh my God, Mark, you don't get it. He's been researching our family, and there are things we don't know, things that could change everything," Sarah pressed, her voice rising. "Like what?" Mark shot back, crossing his arms defensively. "It's about the house," she said, the words tasting bitter on her tongue. "There are secrets tied to it, our inheritance, who we are. M. Thompson thinks we have a right to know." Jake shifted uncomfortably. "What do you mean? What's wrong with the house?" "It's not just a house, Jake," Sarah exclaimed, her frustration spilling over. "It's a symbol of everything we've built and everything that's been hidden from us. What if it's not just our family anymore?" Mark's expression hardened, and he stepped closer, his voice low and menacing. "You're being dramatic, Sarah. You know how these family stories can get twisted. Don't let some random guy stir up trouble." "No, Mark, I can't just ignore this," Sarah's voice cracked, the weight of her emotions crashing down on her. "I feel betrayed. You've always kept things from me, and I can't trust you anymore." The silence that followed was deafening. The distant hum of traffic outside seemed to fade as the tension built. "Mom, please," Jake said softly, looking at her with pleading eyes. "What do you mean, betrayed?" "Jake, I wish I could protect you from this. But I can't. Not anymore," she replied, her voice trembling. "Your father, he's kept secrets from us, and it's time we face them." Mark's face turned crimson. "What secrets? I've done everything for this family. You're just going to throw it all away over some hearsay?" Sarah shook her head, feeling the sting of tears in her eyes. "It's not hearsay, Mark. M. Thompson showed me proof. Our family history is more complicated than we've been led to believe. There's a legacy we're missing out on, and you've hidden it from us." Mark stepped back, his bravado fading. "What are you talking about?" "Your mother," Sarah replied, her voice barely above a whisper. "She wasn't who we thought she was. M. Thompson believes she had connections, ties to something bigger, something that could change how we see ourselves." The room fell silent, the weight of her words hanging heavily in the air. "Wait, are you saying Grandma was involved in something illegal?" Jake's voice cracked. "No, not illegal, complicated. There are layers to our family history that we don't understand, and we need to dig deeper or we'll never know who we really are," Sarah said, her voice steadier now, as if finding her resolve. Mark's face twisted with anger and confusion. "This is insane, Sarah. You're just going to believe some random guy over your own family?" In that moment, Sarah felt a surge of clarity. If you can't see the importance of this, then maybe you're the one who's lost. A flicker of realization crossed Mark's face, but before he could respond, Jake interjected. "I can't believe you both are fighting about this. We need to figure out what's going on, not tear each other apart." Cultural reflection. In the living room, it hurt like betrayal, the air thick with unspoken truths. "Jake, I love you, but you need to understand the gravity of this. This isn't just about us anymore," Sarah said, feeling her heart race. Mark's voice softened, a hint of vulnerability breaking through his facade. "I thought I was protecting you both." "By lying?" Sarah shot back, her voice filled with a mix of sadness and anger. "You're not protecting us. You're hiding the truth." As the silence enveloped them, Sarah could almost hear the echoes of their past, laughter, love, and now this. The reality of their family history loomed over them like a dark cloud. "Let's just figure this out," Jake said, his voice steadier now. "I want to know the truth, whatever it is." And in that moment, Sarah knew that even if the path ahead was fraught with uncertainty, they would face it together. The walls that had kept them apart were starting to crumble, and maybe, just maybe, they could find a way to rebuild from the ashes of betrayal. "Enough!" Sarah shouted, her voice echoing. "Please let me speak," Mark pleaded. "There's nothing left to say," Sarah finalized. The porch creaked softly under Sarah's weight as she stared out into the fading light of dusk, the wind chimes tinkling gently in the evening breeze. The smell of fresh coffee lingered in the air, mingling with the bittersweet memories of the day's earlier revelations. "Oh my God," she whispered, feeling a knot tighten in her chest. It was surreal, like a bad dream from which she couldn't wake. The email that had sent her world spiraling was still etched in her mind, each word replaying like a haunting melody. "Mom, can we talk?" Jake's voice interrupted her thoughts, pulling her back to reality. He stood at the entrance, his face shadowed by the fading light. She nodded, her heart sinking further as she gestured for him to join her on the porch. She needed to understand what was going on, what had been hidden from her all this time. As Jake settled into the chair next to her, silence enveloped them, heavy and suffocating. The wind chimes sang softly, as if offering comfort in their shared turmoil. "I got that email too," he finally said, his voice barely above a whisper. "I was hoping you wouldn't bring it up." "Why not?" Sarah replied, her frustration bubbling to the surface. "It's not just some random message. It's about our family, about the house. What did you mean when you said we needed to talk?" Jake looked away, his fingers tracing the outline of the wooden armrest. "It's complicated, Mom. I've been trying to figure it out myself, but there's more to it than you think. There's a reason Dad left." "Mark?" The name felt foreign on her tongue, a bitter reminder of the charm that had once captivated her. What does he have to do with this? Jake took a deep breath, his eyes glistening with unshed tears. "He's not who you think he is. I found out some things about our family, about his past. I didn't want to believe it, but..." He paused, uncertainty clouding his expression. "I think he's been lying to us for years." Sarah felt the weight of his words settle heavily in the pit of her stomach. Lying about what? The air felt thick, charged with unspoken truths and deep-seated fears. About the house, about his childhood. He didn't just leave us, he left behind a whole part of his life, a part that's catching up to him now, Jake replied, his voice trembling. The revelation struck her like a bolt of lightning, illuminating shadows she had long ignored. The house, their family home, wasn't just a place. It was a symbol of all the secrets, all the betrayals. "I can't believe this," she said, her heart racing. "Why didn't you tell me sooner?" "I was scared," Jake admitted. "Scared of what it would mean for us, for you. I didn't want to hurt you more than I already have." In that moment, as they sat on the porch, the weight of their shared pain felt almost tangible, like a thick fog enveloping them. Cultural reflection. In the porch, it hurt like heartbreak. As the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of orange and purple, Sarah's thoughts drifted to her own childhood, the memories of laughter and love overshadowed by the impending storm of family secrets. "Maybe we need to confront him together," Sarah suggested, her voice steadier than she felt. "We deserve to know the truth." Jake nodded, a flicker of hope igniting in his eyes. "Yeah, maybe it's time to break the cycle." The following weeks were a blur of therapy sessions and conversations that peeled back layers of hurt and betrayal. With each meeting, Sarah, Mark, and Jake began to rebuild their fractured relationships. The journey was fraught with tears and revelations, but slowly they learned to communicate their feelings, to express their fears. In one particularly poignant session, as they sat together, Sarah felt a rush of empathy for Mark. "I understand now," she said softly, her voice filled with compassion. "You were just trying to protect us, weren't you?" Mark, his eyes brimming with unshed tears, nodded. "I thought I could shield you from the pain of my past. I was wrong." The truth about Mark's childhood and the house they had all avoided discussing came to light, allowing Sarah to finally grasp the weight of their shared history. As they sat on the porch one evening, watching the stars emerge in the night sky, Sarah felt a newfound sense of peace. "We may never fully understand each other's struggles, but we can choose to face them together," she said, her heart swelling with hope. Jake squeezed her hand. "Yeah, and maybe, just maybe, we can start to heal." As the laughter of their shared moments echoed into the night, Sarah knew their journey was far from over, but they were no longer alone in their fight for understanding and forgiveness. "Life has a way of unraveling secrets when you least expect it," she thought, her gaze fixed on the stars. "A stranger sent me an email saying, 'Ask your son about the house.' That night, my entire life fell apart in one conversation, but perhaps it also began anew. And you, on your porch, how will you confront the hidden truths of your own family?"